Hello, and welcome back, or perhaps for the first time, to Animal Crossing Hard Mode. Last week, we started our island and began to work towards unlocking everything we need to be able to do our daily tasks. While Tom Nook was doing his announcements, I noticed that he had set out the radio, so group stretching was now an option for me. Hooray! Also, look at Donation Mountain. That is obscene. We started this week by waking up in our new house. It's amazing that Tom Nook was able to build this around me while I slept. Now that I own a home, it only made sense to try and decorate it. The only problem was that I don't have a lot of furniture, so making myself a decent room is going to be the week-long project. Next was the most important step of the week, choosing our outfit. Last week I went with a really simple pattern, so this week I decided to try really hard and challenge myself, and I did not enjoy it. I was really waffling on what to do for this one, but then I remembered that I've been really into Mahjong lately, so I thought a Mahjong tile shirt would be fun. I wanted to do the tune, but I couldn't get it to look right, so I thought I would go for a 5-peen pattern since the 5-mon would be just as hard as the tune. And obviously, since it's red, Dora Dora Dora! It's not perfect, but it'll do for now. My first order of business was running over to Blathers to give him as much of Donation Mountain as I could. He could only take 15 today, so I wasn't able to completely clear out Donation Mountain, but he did give me some amazing facts about the fish and bugs I was donating. Also, he gave me the recipe for my vaulting pole and shovel, so I can finally explore a little bit more of the island. I ran into the resident service tent and picked up the quest to gather enough materials to make the shop. The wood won't be an issue, but I have concerns about my ability to get enough iron today, so I resigned myself to just not having a shop tomorrow. I looked at my daily tasks and it's fine. Now that I have the vaulting pole, gathering up the seashells was a piece of cake. I decided to hold on to the giant clams for gifting purposes. A video guide I watched said that it was one of the items you can give to your villagers in order to get their photos, and I need all the help I can get in that regard. So I began my laps once more, gathering wood, failing to make a good snowman, getting murdered by wasps. While I was doing my rounds, I noticed that Gulliver was on my beach, but I decided to come back to him because I was in the middle of something. I did eventually make my way back to him and hunted for the communicator parts while gathering up all of the wood and weeds on the other side of the river. There were not any more stones over there, so I was out of luck when it came to finding more iron until... Not only did Sparrow give me some iron for free, iron falls from the sky! That doesn't seem safe, but I'll take what I can get. Now, aside from my daily tasks, my big goal for the day was grinding out enough miles to get myself the pocket upgrade. This was surprisingly easy, because I'm so early in the game I'm just earning achievements left, right, and center. I decided to use the free Nook Miles ticket that I got to celebrate the airport opening in the hopes that I would be able to get enough iron to finish the shop. On the Mystery Island I found Megan, who was very cute, but I can't invite people to my island yet, so she was just there to taunt me. Because I don't have a ladder yet, I wasn't able to get to the last rock on the island, but I did manage to get some wood and coconuts to plant on my own island. Since my Mystery Island idea didn't pan out, I was in despair. Without any more rocks to hit for potential iron drops, I was forced to patrol Black Jade's beaches in the hopes that another iron balloon would float by. While I waited for my balloon spawns, I hunted for snowflakes for crafting. And then I remembered that it was Sunday, Market Day. I found an open market, and the kind owner of Shelf Island was willing to trade me not only oranges for some pears, but also let me buy the rest of the iron I needed for a steal. The flyover also let me get a better look at Fish Mountain. CJ is going to be very impressed with me. With the iron in my pockets, I ran straight to the resident service tent to drop it off with Timmy. In exchange, he allowed me to place the shop wherever I wanted. I decided I wanted to keep it close to the plaza to have a sort of town center kind of vibe. The Able Sister shop will also go in this general area when I get it. I was about to call it a day, but then I remembered my wetsuit. I went through all that trouble to buy it, and then I had completely forgotten to use it. So, I put on my wetsuit and I jumped into the freezing ocean. I collected a few more items for Donation Mountain, and I found a scallop. Unfortunately for Pascal, the first scallop was bound for the museum. His poor fortune was short-lived because I found a second scallop about 3 feet from the first. He gave me a new crafting recipe and a bit of wisdom. To be honest, I hate that feeling. I try to keep out of the light of the day star as often as possible. Monday was something of a mixed bag. The day started out with Daisy May threatening to bring the hated stock market to my island. I suppose I could simply not engage with it, but I'm going to give it a shot. If I see her on Sunday, it only seems right. I also forgot that the museum takes 2 days to complete, and I was very disappointed to learn that not only did Donation Mountain live to see another day, I couldn't even get today's fossils assessed. It was extremely sad. But the construction on Nook's Cranny was completed, so I stopped to celebrate my achievement. With the shop officially built, I now had access to a new way of making money, the drop box. The drop box is for crops, which I don't have yet, fruit, and forageables, like the seashells or, more importantly, the sea creatures you fish up while diving. I also have access to hot items now, which for today was log steaks. Even at double price, it wasn't worth the resources that I spent making one, so hopefully I'll get better hot items later on down the line. I eavesdropped on the Nooklings talking to Mabel. She should be able to start coming to the island soon to sell me better pants. Also, they started selling flooring and wallpaper, so I can really start working on decorating my house in earnest. There's no NPC quest to do today, so I went straight to stretching and doing my 2 times Nook miles. And I've received perhaps the rudest one of these tasks that I have ever seen. I needed to catch an oarfish. I decided to put that off for a minute while I worked on the easier tasks, catching the day's scallop on the second dive, and Pascal, what the fuck? Because the things you fish up while diving count as forageables, I dropped the excess sea creatures and my allotment of fruit trees into the drop box and discovered that it does count as selling things, so I'll no longer feel like I'm cheating if I get the seashells Nook Miles task. I've spent fully an hour and a half running back and forth and 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 back and forth along my beaches, catching every large shadow I saw. It became very apparent that I have trouble distinguishing between the large and medium shadows because I caught a lot of squid. Now, you might think that this would allow me to grow Fish Mountain to even greater heights, but I'm a little worried about it taking over my entire island, so I decided to limit myself to adding only a single pocketful of fish. Since I was limiting myself, I held on to only the most high-value fish I could find, which, means just the red snappers. After a while, it started to get to me, like, what if I couldn't do it? What if the oarfish just never spawned? I would fail the challenge. Does that mean I would have to start over? I don't think that's the rule, but what if it is? No one can say that I didn't try, though, right? Like, I have over an hour of footage of me trying. Surely that's enough to— oh wait, there it is. Other notable things that happened while I was having my little crisis: I misjudged where a balloon was going to land and it fell straight into the river, and I managed to build a perfect snowman. Well, 2 dung beetles managed to build a perfect snowman. I just kind of attached the head to the body. Tom Nook had some tasks for me. The first was to pick out a spot for Black Jade's first bridge. I had a bit of trouble with this one because the bridge didn't want to go where I wanted to put it, but we came to a compromise. Next was picking out spots for 3 new houses. Usually I like to keep my villagers' houses close together so I can make like a little residential area, but I want to try something a little different this time. I'm going to keep them spread out and make them all themed areas. I don't have it all planned out yet. I only really have a vision for where I'm eventually going to move my house, but that's going to require terraforming, so that's way off in the future. The crafted items posed a small problem. You see, one of the houses wanted orange furniture, and I had sold all of the oranges I was allowed to gather for the day. Fortunately, I remembered that Timmy and Tommy sell your native fruit at their shop. I never bother with this feature in normal gameplay because why would I? They literally grow on trees. Anyway, I spent almost all of my money buying 20 oranges for this stupid house, well, 21 because of a misclick, and whoever moves in had better appreciate it. Now, a smarter person would have written down all of the required items and maybe made note of what materials they needed before starting, but I am not a smarter person. I ran around crafting the items that I could remember, and then jogging back to the houses to check if I had done it correctly for a while. While I was collecting roses for the rose wreath, I noticed a wisp floating around, so it seems I did have an NPC quest after all. I startled him so badly that he exploded, and set to collecting his scattered pieces while I worked on gathering the materials and crafting items for new residents. I was a little confused by this house, because I had all of the items. It took me a minute to realize I wasn't counting the clothesline for whatever reason. Once I moved it, the game decided that I had finished the construction quest, and now I'm allowed to start inviting villagers to my island. Probably. If I recall how this is supposed to go, I'm supposed to pick up 3 villagers from Mystery Islands, so I decided to head off to one. I desperately needed to replenish my wood and iron supplies anyway. Once I arrived, I noticed an aurora in the background. It was really pretty, so I took some time taking screenshots of it before remembering why I had come to the island in the first place. While I was gearing up to start hitting rocks, my shovel broke immediately. I could have bought one from the dodo, but I decided to just build my own. I'm trying to save my miles for more tickets and items and crafting recipes and all of that stuff. I ran into my first new villager, Rex. He seems fine. I have no strong opinions about this guy one way or the other, which means I will become very emotionally attached to him and will get very sad if he ever decides to leave me. Tom Nook announced that Molly was moving in, which was very confusing because Molly is not Rex. I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe I misremembered how the build the houses for the 3 new villagers portion of this game is supposed to work. It has been almost 3 years now, so I might have been wrong. I don't know. I went to check her out and she's cute! I'm glad I got such a good villager as my first move-in, especially after starting with Rocket. I know I said I was coming around on her, but my last island starting villagers were Phoebe and Dom, so going from that to Rocket was just a little bit disappointing. I checked my 2 times miles dailies and none of these look too... Oh, come on. Ugh. Okay, so it turns out you can only catch tunas on the pier. So I went and dug up as many manila clams as I could to make fish bait. I used up all of it and no tuna spawns. But then when I was looking for more clams, I did end up getting that tuna. So the museum finally opened up, so I got rid of Donation Mountain. I'm really starting to worry about Fish Mountain. It's getting really out of control. With this many fish, I'm starting to feel like I'm almost cheating. Eventually, I want to make myself a little outdoor aquarium area, but I'm going to need more stuff to make it look nice. I might actually sort through all of the fish just to keep all of the high-value ones and let all of the squids and sea bass go back to the ocean, if only so that I can walk around my island again. My villagers finally have houses, which is so nice for them. It's also nice for me because it means that one of them will be doing a crafting project every day and give me the recipe. I'm also finally allowed to give gifts to my villagers, but only 1 gift per day. So I'm going to be hugging giant clams at Sparrow until he gives me his photo. I was devastated to find that I filled up my home storage, which means I need to try and save up for the house upgrade as soon as possible and stop blowing all of my money on wallpapers that I'm not using. Until then, I have to just leave random junk on the ground like some sort of monster. Harv was also wandering around my island. I don't know if he counts as an NPC quest for the day, but I decided to just be safe and head over to his island. I made myself a little green screen pattern to use for thumbnail purposes. I capped off my day by heading to a mystery island. I didn't find any villagers there, or even the message bottle with a little extra recipe for the day, which was a little rude, I think. Today was mostly uneventful. I decided to really buckle down and try to organize my island, if only a little bit. Rex finally moved in. He's still in boxes, so I don't know how he decorates his house yet. Hopefully it looks good. I'm probably going to destroy it by giving him gifts and stuff, but it would be nice to see how it looks before that. In my last file, I just went ham with the cooking when it first came out. I gave all of my villagers the food I made as presents because I wanted to be nice, but apparently they just keep it as furniture, and all of their houses had like 3 different dishes just sitting out. It was so gross. I know this is Animal Crossing and the food will never spoil, but still. Ew. We finally got a not terrible mix of 2 times Miles tasks for the day. Since today's hot item seemed worth the effort, I went ahead and made a bunch of DIY benches to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I made 10k off of it. Hooray! I'm rich! And then I spent all of it on flooring and wallpaper because I have no self-control. I spent some time designing a little pattern. In my head they're like blankets or beach towels or whatever. I wanted to use a zigzag pattern like this woven blanket my dad used to have, but I gave up on that idea immediately. It was too hard and it was too early and I hadn't even had my coffee yet. I'll give it another shot another time. I used my new stripe blanket that doesn't repeat properly to block out squares from my outdoor aquarium area. This is the compromise I made with myself with regards to Fish Mountain. You see, Fish Mountain was getting to the point that it felt as though I was just blatantly cheating. This is supposed to be hard mode, you know? So I've come up with a solution. I've given myself 6 2-square tiles and 1 large blanket to keep an extra large fish, like an oarfish, on. These spots, once they are full, are the only fish I'm allowed to keep for CJ until he comes. Any fish I catch from here on out needs to be released or replace one of the fish that I currently have. Until CJ comes, and then I can sell him all of the fish and we start the aquarium again. Also, on days when CJ is here, I'm allowed to sell him as many fish as I can catch that day. The same goes for Flick, of course. The only difference is that I gave myself 2 extra little blankets because there aren't any oarfish-sized bugs. As far as I know. What a fucking nightmare that would be. This isn't like a hard mode rule, it's just a me rule. While I was making my holding area, I made myself a perfect snowman. All by myself, no dung beetles involved. I'm very proud of myself. I spent a lot of time gathering wood and the daily allotment of fruit. While I was wandering around, I noticed Red skulking about at the back of my island. I ran straight for his treasure trawler, and since I know Sunday in the Park with George is always real, I bought it without looking at the other paintings. I know that's not what the painting is actually called, but when I was a kid, my mom would put on show tunes when we were cleaning, and Sunday in the Park with George was one of her go-tos, and it's poisoned my brain, so I can't look at this painting or do my dishes without hearing that wretched song. When I was making all of those workbenches for cash monies, I made an extra one for myself. I wanted to make myself a little crafting area. I cleared all of the wood and weeds and such out of my storage and left them on the ground next to my workbench. I would love to have a shelving solution of some kind, but this will have to do for now. I also forgot to go to the Mystery Island today, but I'm sure I didn't miss out on anything too exciting. Probably. I hope. Today's announcements were pretty fun. First of all, Patty moved in, which means all 3 of my houses are filled. I don't actually remember how to get more villagers after this. I must have done it before because my last island was full. I'm sure I'll figure it out again. I could look it up, but I'm not gonna. Thomas also threatened to shut down resident services tomorrow, which means I won't be able to get a Nook Miles ticket tomorrow, so I bought 2 when I went shopping for them today. But more importantly, Isabel is going to be coming to my island. I miss her so much. I know it's been like less than a week since I deleted my old island and started this one, but that feels like way too long. While I was wandering around, I noticed that I got my first hybrid flower, these blue hyacinths. I'm not 100% sure which of these flowers produced this one, probably the 2 white ones since that's how it goes for pansies, but still, I want more of these blue ones if I can get them. I also stopped to visit Patty. I'm not sure how I feel about her. She's cute enough, but peppy villagers annoy me. I also visited Rex to see if he had the crafting recipe for the day, and Rex has the orange furniture. But I definitely put that in Patty's house, didn't I? I don't understand. I saw a butterfly that I hadn't caught before, but my net was broken, so I couldn't catch it. By the time I got back there with a new net, it was gone. I may never recover emotionally. I also made another bad snowman. My batting average with these is just atrocious. Finally got around to donating that painting I bought from Red when I went to drop off my fossils. I forget how it works exactly, but I'm pretty sure that donating art will eventually unlock Cap'n and, more importantly, Brewster. And I can't wait to start drinking coffee again. In the game. I obviously drink coffee in real life, even without Brewster. I might have a cafe-themed room in my house once I upgrade it enough. I don't know yet, though. I finally remembered to hold the ceremony for the museum. I always kind of assumed that you could only hold these ceremonies on the day of the thing being completed, but it turns out that you can forget for a day or two and still be able to do it. Lucky me. While I was running around, I noticed Gulliver laying dead on my beach again. I just left him there while I finished some of the other chores. I finally managed to get enough stuff that I could stop to decorate my house. It's not the prettiest house in the world, but considering what I have on hand, I think it came out really nice. Maybe I'm just charmed by the wallpaper, though. Clotheslines were the hot item today. I farmed for tree branches to make a couple, and they were just not worth the effort I put in. Absolutely tragic. I finally went back to deal with Gulliver. Come on, my guy, you gotta get it together. This is the second time this week. I don't particularly enjoy diving in this game. It's slow and kind of boring, but it's the best moneymaker I have right now. I usually go until either I catch a scallop or my pockets are full, whichever comes first. Today it was the pocket one, I didn't find any scallops. Today Leaf was here. I got so excited that I bought 5 of everything he was selling. I'm hesitant to put too many shrubs down because I'm planning on moving some of the main buildings once that becomes an option for me. Mainly the museum. I didn't think this location through, and I hate how it looks here. I also finally got a crop to water every day. I'd like to set up a little farm area, but I'm not really sure where to put it. For now, I'm just going to leave these 3 carrots here, and I'll move things around once I have a clearer vision for how this is going to go. I bought a few extra carrot starts as well, just in case I want to trade with somebody come market day. I ran over to the Nook shop to feed my wallpaper addiction. I ended up buying a sewing machine because I thought it would look nice in my house. I was right, by the way. I also bought a water cooler. Not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but it's nice to have. I looked up a picture of the most efficient planting patterns to get hybrid flowers. The one I found seemed reputable enough, so I just followed that up in this corner with the tulips and the mums. I'm also leaving those weeds here on purpose, even though it hurts me deeply to do so. I heard somewhere that Wisp won't show up unless you have a certain number of weeds on your island, and since I want to try and get items out of him, I need to keep the weeds here for now. I finally managed to catch a tarantula. Because I usually play during the morning, I haven't seen one of those yet. I would like to catch a bunch of these to hold for Flick, but I ended up not seeing any more. I was too lazy to stand up, so I used the button controls for the stretching today. Also, it was a little late when I started doing my recording, and I didn't want to bother my downstairs neighbor during the jumping portion. Even though Mr. Snoozes threw his alarm for 2 hours at a time, 100% deserves to be bothered. The game taunted me by giving me the oarfish task as one of my regular plus tasks, not one of the 2 times miles ones, and then, within seconds of it appearing on my tracker, I caught an oarfish. I had to let it go because I already have one waiting for CJ. The game just wanted to rub salt in the wound, I suppose. Since I finished up all of my dailies that I'm able to do, I decided to head out into the water. The scallop was my first catch, so I decided to just keep going until my pockets were full. I need the money if I want to upgrade my house. Some Venus baskets led me on a merry chase and made me wonder why I even bother with this nonsense. I know they're worth a good chunk of change, but I'm not sure they're worth the hassle of catching them. I kept my day off the way I usually do. I headed to a mystery island and harvested a bunch of crafting materials. Isabelle is here! Also Mabel, but that's less exciting. I like Mabel, but Isabelle is so cute. I'm so glad she's finally back on my island. It was raining, but watering my crops is one of my daily tasks, so I watered my carrots anyway. I really wanted to catch a coelacanth, so I threw my line at every large shadow I saw. I have never, in any of the Animal Crossing games I've played, ever been able to catch one of these. I'm not completely convinced they exist. It's entirely possible that the coelacanth is just a big prank that the Animal Crossing community has been playing on me for years. It also took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to notice that the snow had melted. I think because the month hasn't changed yet, I don't have any new bugs or fish today. For once, the hot item was actually worth the trouble of making and selling. Natural garden chairs. I made like 5 of them and ended up with 20,000 bells for a couple minutes' work. And I even managed to exhibit a bit of self-control for a change and did not spend all of it on new wallpaper and flooring. Everyone be very proud of me. I stopped by Mabel and bought everything that wasn't a shirt. I don't think it was enough to get her to stay. I think you have to spend at least 5,000 bells with her in order for her to build her own shop. There are no vendors where I can sell clothing, and my storage issues being what they are, I can't exactly buy a bunch of duplicates. Next time. Sparrow asked me what my favorite sport is, so I said baseball. Baseball is a noble sport. It's very fair. Everybody gets their turn, and you can't just run the clock out when you're ahead. I like it. I found Patty out in the wild, and apparently her catchphrase is "how now." That's funny because she's a brown cow. I may actually like Patty. Not as much as I like Molly, but I'd rather her stick around than Rocket if I had a choice. When I went to donate my fossils, only 2 of the ones I dug up were new. What's going on? It's way too early in the game for me to be getting this many repeats. I set a couple of them outside the museum for decoration, but this tree blocks the view of one of them. I haven't cut it down or moved it yet, but I'm really considering it. I might wait until I figure out what I'm doing with the museum. I'm still thinking about moving it somewhere, but I don't know where yet. My pile of garbage grows ever stronger. I desperately need that extra storage space, especially since I keep buying stuff like I have a fully upgraded house. It's getting bad. I have enough random junk that I'm really considering opening the market, but my island is such a mess. I don't want strangers to come by until I have a couple of good set pieces planned out. Speaking of which, I decided to make all of the snow and ice themed furniture that I could. I customized a few because the 2x-mile task demanded it, and they have such nice colors. It's like those cool ice sculpture places where they shine colored lights through the sculptures. I'm a big fan. But you can't customize the fences, so what's even the point? I don't know who's going to get the ice furniture treatment yet. None of the houses I have right now would look good with it, but I'll keep it in my back pocket just in case. I finally decided to amble over to the new resident service building to see Isabel, and also harvest whatever was laying around in the recycling bin. I managed to get another cardboard box, which is exciting. I paid off my house loan using my secret weapon, the fact that I am very forgetful. The Nooklings will send the bells you earn through the Dropbox straight to your bank account, and if you're like me, and always forget to fetch it, you'll accumulate enough bells to pay off your loans. While I was at the machine, I spent almost all of my miles on app upgrades and more pocket space. I can use accent walls now, apparently, which I will definitely do at some point, the next time I decide to redecorate my house, probably. I'll see what I can do with it. With all of that done, I wandered over to Tom Nook to get my house upgrade underway. I also decided that I wanted to build an incline. I definitely want at least one of my villagers to live on a cliff, but I'd feel too bad putting a house up there with no way for them to get down. So it's time to spend 98,000 bells on an incline for them. Before I ran off to set it up, I stopped by Isabel to change the town tune and flag. I decided to go with my pride flag design for the flag, and Isabel seemed to approve. I once again had a small argument with the game about where I'm allowed to put my infrastructure. This would be so much easier if I had terraforming, but we need to earn that first. I'm not sure I remember how, and I'm not going to look it up. It'll be a fun surprise. I stopped to do the group stretching, and look how cute Molly is in her little raincoat. That is all. I also remembered to hold the ceremony for the new building, and Molly is still just so cute. I don't know what I'm going to do if she decides to leave. Tom Nook wanted me to build the campsite as a first step towards getting KK Slider concerts, and who am I to argue? I never really figured out how the campsite works. The only time I've ever used it successfully was when a friend gave me an amiibo card for Ricky so I could invite him to my island. I've never gotten one of the random residents to actually move onto my island. While I was at it, I built and set up a donation box. You need one of those if you're going to open a market, and I figured it would be better to set it up now while I was thinking about it rather than forget. I thought this spot near the beach would be a good spot for the campsite, mostly because it was out of my way and I wouldn't have to think about it too much. Since I had finished all of my chores for the day, I used my free miles ticket and hopped over to a mystery island. It turns out that pears are my sister fruit, which is really disappointing. I had been hoping for cherries or peaches, since I don't have those yet. Once I finished harvesting all of the fruit I could and gathering up all of the crafting materials, I headed back to my island, prepared for a long day of coelacanth hunting. Except once I got home it had stopped raining, so I just decided to end the day there. Until, while I was editing this very video, I had stopped to take a short break, and while I was wandering around, I actually caught one. They do exist! I also went and filled up my now bigger pockets with the seed creatures to start chipping away at the new house loan. Okay, maybe it is worth it. Thank you all so much for watching. I know this isn't my usual style of content, but if you liked it, consider telling me so. There is a button for that. I'll see you all again next week.